Well, it's an Olá boa noite from Portugal. Great to be here for the Expats Portugal webinar for the 17th of July. Everything you need to know about the Golden Visa, Portugal's Golden Visa 2025 live Q&A tonight with Jason Swan from Holborn here this evening. How are you, Jason?
Very good. Thank you, Carl. Very good. Enjoying the hottest day of the year. Today, 36 degrees we hit this morning in the Algarve.
Very good.
So thank the Lord for air conditioning.
Right, nearly
Which
as
is
warm as your colleague in Bournemouth. It's been very warm back in our native UK, isn't it? Okay, let me just say a few words before you get started with your presentation this evening. Good evening to everyone who's joining us. Thank you for being here. Put your questions in the chat if you will, and let us know how you are, where you are, and how you're doing. This is a great opportunity for families, professionals, retirees, and investors to find out more about Portugal's Golden Visa. As it stands, the latest information, cutting edge, state of the art here with Jason this evening. And we'll include tonight the Golden Visa basics, how to qualify, who can be included in the scheme, application timeline and process. Jason will go through all of this and latest updates with AIMA, of course, and maybe he'll address a little bit of the controversy and some of the things that are going on politically as well at the moment. There's quite the atmosphere. Latest investment criteria as of this month, as we stand. How to qualify with 325,000 euros. An exclusive offer, including an investment loan financing to bridge the gap to reach the 500,000, the 500k minimum investment, tax breaks, and the NHR, where we're at with that, NHR 2.0, of course, and the most popular investment picks, according to Jason and Holborn, as of this month, as where we stand right now. So, Jason, thank you very much indeed for being here. Over to you with your presentation, and I'll jump in, if I may, from time to time with questions that are coming from our audience this evening.
Sure thing. No problem, Carl. Thank you. And yeah, like you say, a lot to cover. I'm going to try to provide literally everything that everyone needs to know. We field a lot of the same questions multiple times. So obviously the webinar helps kind of answer them in a timely manner. But if we do miss anything through the slides, as you mentioned, yeah, feel free to say hello in the Q&A. I'll do my best to answer all the questions that come in, and hopefully everyone gets lots out of the presentation. But if you are tuning in for the first time, my name is Jason Swan. I'm an expert here in Portugal when it comes to the Golden Visa program. As a group now, we've submitted over 2,000 applications for Portugal's Golden Visa. Personally, now having done over 300 applications just in the past couple of years, we've seen a significant uplift for the visa route since November last year, in particular from the US. I don't know what happened in November last year, Cal, in the US, but something caused a little bit of discomfort. So yeah, it's been a particularly busy year, but hopefully I can answer any questions that come in. I am also a fully qualified financial planner. Holborn, as a group, are a wealth management practice. We now look after over $3 billion between 26 offices globally, and yeah, hopefully we can add some value to your Golden Visa journey. We offer a one-stop shop for everything that's needed to achieve the Golden Visa, starting with, of course, the basic work of setting up things like tax numbers, setting up your bank account. We can provide different investment selections, and you have myself to manage and facilitate all the different moving parts throughout the process to hopefully make the plan nice and smooth, and getting you on your way to Portugal as well. Hi there, Astrid. Thanks for joining us. Sorry you got the link a little late, didn't you, from us?
That's okay. No, I'm glad to be here. I got stuck in a car wash.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Wow.
It's a story to be had later.
Best excuse ever. All right, we will find out, I think, on the Dream Team Town Hall session. We'll have a cliffhanger on that, and we'll come back to how that exactly happened and how people can avoid that. More value.
Sorry to interrupt. Keep going.
I can't hear any water, Astrid, so I'm guessing you made it out of the car wash in the end. Yeah, good. All right, super. Well, I was just saying, yeah, about Holborn and the one-stop shop that we have to offer. But if you get a chance, type my name into Google, type the company into Google, have a look at some of our company reviews, and of course, we'll be happy to field the questions that you have. Portugal is the focus for this evening. It isn't the only program for those that are maybe not set just on Portugal, but are maybe just thinking of a general plan B somewhere else, or maybe looking at a route to citizenship. But if you do want to ask us about any other routes, both within Europe or internationally, again, feel free to reach out and we'll be happy to oblige. A couple of headlines just to give everyone an update on what's happened recently in the Golden Visa. I think on pretty much every call at the moment, I'm being asked about the recent government announcement increasing the timeline to citizenship from 5 to 10 years. Briefly on this, very important to note that this hasn't come into effect just yet, despite announcements from the likes of Bloomberg explaining that it has now changed. It is very much a proposal at this stage, and if you are wanting to get on the path to citizenship over 5 years rather than the proposed 10 years, it is important that you look to submit an application before that law comes into effect. But again, just to clarify, that has not happened just yet. It's going to take a bit of time before that law comes into play. But again, any questions on that, please feel free to ask. In other news, we've confirmed with AIMA as well, not just this month, that if you do want to move to Portugal before the visa has been issued, AIMA will allow residency and for you to reside in Portugal before the visa comes through, as long as we can submit and prove submission of your application whilst you're in the country. We can extend the stay indefinitely up until when your visa is issued. So very good news for those that are maybe can't wait for the visa to come through. If you can't wait for that over the next 12 to 18 months, then you can set sail much faster with that news. Otherwise, we'll start with some basics. If you are just setting out on your Golden Visa journey and wondering perhaps what it is a 2-year visa, which allows you to live, work, or simply retire to Portugal. Very much kind of a VIP pass, if you like. It is a 2-year visa that can be renewed for as long as you like. But after 5 years have passed, we can then apply for your Portuguese passport. And with a Portuguese passport, you become a European citizen, which allows you then to live in any European country without any restrictions at all. Very much like getting kind of 27 passports all at the same time. And Portugal's program remains the #1 route to Europe by quite some distance, and it is now the only country left in Europe that has a citizenship program where you don't actually have to live in Europe to get the passport. It is very much popular with those that are maybe not necessarily moving right now, but are thinking of maybe a plan B for the future, maybe thinking of retirement plans, maybe thinking of access to European education and healthcare for the family. But yeah, it's been around since 2012 with over 33,000 successful applications submitted. And yeah, at the moment, it is not due for closing. I don't know if you remember Astrid and Carl back in 2023 when we nearly lost the Golden Visa program.
Yeah, right.
Which was a very stressful year. I remember I was watching Manchester United play Seville in Seville at the time. My phone started ringing off the hook with panicked clients after all the news outlets had said that the program had closed.
Yeah.
Obviously, that wasn't the case in the end, and the rules changed. But the new government now that's in play is very pro Golden Visa. So all being well, we should have the visa for some years to come. With some changes perhaps, but at the moment we're in the clear. As a Golden Visa holder, you get access to all the benefits of being a Portuguese citizen. Apart from you cannot vote and you cannot run for president, but political aspirations aside, you have access to everything else, including the healthcare system. You have access to, of course, European education. And there are a number of tax incentives now for new residents as well. Just stick on the air conditioning, I think. It's heating up in here. Can't believe it's 30 degrees at 7:30 at night. And yeah, so again, as soon as you get that visa through, you've got access to all those benefits as a visa holder. As a brief geography lesson, surprising how many people actually apply for the Golden Visa without actually ever having been to Portugal. But if you are looking at spending some time over here, you'll find myself down in the south, where it's typically a little warmer. I've got, of course, the capital in Lisbon, and Porto being the third most popular destination. I don't know if you've got any other hot spots you'd add there, Astrid, for where people head towards.
Cascais, I'm guessing. And if I may, by Nazaré, a little town called San Martino de Porto, which is very nice too.
So, well, I actually got married in Estoril last year,
Oh,
not too far
excellent.
from
Wow, James
Portugal.
Bond, home of
Yeah,
James Bond.
I
Yes.
actually stayed in the James Bond hotel actually on my wedding evening. So yeah, very nice place, very nice part of Portugal.
Yeah.
And so, but yeah, wherever you head to, again, the Golden Visa is not necessarily a decision to move to Portugal. It is very much like I say, you only have to be here for 2 weeks every 2 years to get the passport. But yeah, if you are heading over, I don't think you're going to go too far wrong. No matter where you end up. Really, I've been in Portugal now for 4 years. Previous, I was in Spain for 5 years, still with a very poor level of Portuguese. Do you speak Portuguese, Carl?
I'm Porco.
Yeah, better than me, straight off the bat.
I'm doing my best. I'm doing my best.
Of course, you do need to learn Portuguese if you want to apply for the passport, which is one of the few requirements in addition to holding the visa for 5 years. But all that to look forward to. But away from geography and back to something I actually know something about, and that is, of course, the investment criteria at this stage to qualify for the Golden Visa. Now, there's 5 ways that you can get that golden stamp. And the first one, if you wish, is to set up a business in Portugal. And as long as you employ 10 members of staff, that would be rewarded with a Golden Visa. You can also make a generous donation to the government, either 500,000 euros to the research activities of Portugal, or 250,000 euros to the national arts. For those that do not want to donate their money and wish for that to come back to them without the need to set up a business here, then there are 2 investment categories to choose from. The first is to choose some form of venture capital or investment fund that meets the government requirements to qualify. The minimum investment is 500,000 euros, or you have the option to invest that sum directly into a Portuguese company on the basis that that company will, again, create jobs or maintain jobs as a result of your investment. This evening, we'll, of course, focus on the investment side. If you do want to set up a business in Portugal, or if you are looking to make a donation to Portugal, then again, feel free to reach out to Expats Portugal, and we'll put you in touch with the right person. Otherwise, yeah, like I said, we'll focus on number 4 and 5. There are a few variations to what capital is needed from the investor. Formally, 250,000 is the minimum capital requirement to do the donation route. All investments require 500,000 euros. However, as of right now, there are 2 or 3 investment funds that pay an upfront return, where you actually get 6 years return as one big lump sum, if you like, at the outset. And you can actually use that money towards the 500,000 that has to be invested to qualify for the visa, which allows the investor only needing to find 399,000. There are also some providers that offer loan facilities as well, meaning that you can invest and get that money back as opposed to a donation with as little as 325,000 euros as of today's date. But I'll come back to that shortly. As far as some Golden Visa basics, to qualify for the visa, notes that you can't already have a European passport. If you do already have a European passport, you don't need the visa anyway. But also you must hold a clean criminal record, or at least very close to, of course, to make an eligible investment in line with the government's requirements. And horribly, the worst part of the deal is that you're going to have to spend some time in Portugal. However, the plus with this is that it only has to be 14 days every 2 years. And I just want to highlight this part because this visa is the only route to Portugal that doesn't require tax residency in the country. You don't have to be here for 6 months plus. As long as you can be in Portugal for 2 weeks every 2 years, 5 years down the line, you'll be able to apply for the passport and potentially never even move to Portugal. As I mentioned before, it's surprising how many people actually apply for the visa without any interest in the country. They actually plan to go to the likes of Spain or Italy later down the line, once they've decided on what they want to do. But that's it, really. We've done, like I said, we've done over 2,000 applications now. We've got a 100% success rate. As unlike other visas, it's not a subjective process. As long as you meet the criteria, it's a very straightforward process. There's no other restrictions, no other income requirements. It's just those 4 rules to oblige. Family members can be included as well. Still, I think I hold the record for the most family members on the same application. Back in 2023, we managed to squeeze 13 people all on the same application at the time, which can include your partner. Both married and unmarried is fine, as long as you live at the same address. We can include children up to the age of 21 without any proof of dependency being required. Portugal automatically assumes dependency up to the age of 21. The same for parents above the age of 65. If you do have children above that age or parents below the age of 65, we can potentially add them, but we will need to provide some proof of dependency as part of the application. Or we can change who is the main applicant. Sometimes it may make sense to put your son or daughter as the main applicant and to have you as their dependents. In turn, that can allow you to get your grandchildren on the same application as well. But of course, we'll talk through the best way of structuring an application as we get to that point. Otherwise, the process, a bit of a busy slide, but in short, just know that all the different moving parts involved with getting a visa are managed by myself and my team, and we'll try to keep one line of communication for you throughout the process. But behind the scenes, there is a lot to go on, and it all begins with, of course, selecting an investment that meets your requirements. I will then set up your tax numbers. We then apply for your Portuguese bank account. And the bank account can take, at the moment, somewhere between 6 to 8 weeks on average. But whilst we wait for the bank account, we should be gathering all the documents that we need for your visa application. And all being well, in around about 8 to 12 weeks thereafter, we'll be able to submit your application to AIMA. And it's at that time when the 5-year clock will begin to tick towards when we can apply then for your passports. And it's also that date as well at which you'll kind of consolidate the rules of which you enter Portugal as well. So when we're talking about changes to the law in the future and changes to the program, they won't apply retrospectively. So you will transition to Portugal based on the laws on the date of your application. Once that's done, we will wait for the biometrics to happen, and we will accompany you on the day. It's the only time that we need you to be physically in Portugal to do your fingerprints and your photo. We'll be there to help with translation on the day. We'll make sure that you're fully prepared, and we'll do our best to keep you entertained on what is always a pretty soul-destroying day, really queuing up with AIMA. But we'll make sure that all goes to plan. Shortly thereafter, we'll await the issuance of your visa card, and it's at that point at which you then have full access to Portugal. As I mentioned before, you don't necessarily have to wait now for the visa to be able to reside in Portugal, but it's when the visa is issued that you'll then have access to the healthcare and of course the education here as well. And then we begin the path to citizenship. And as a brief recap, like I say, it will take up to around 3 months in order to submit the application. We expect an average of 12 to 18 months to receive the visa. That timeline can vary. The fastest we've seen it this year is 6 months. We had a case submitted in February. It was approved in April, and the whole family was booked in for the biometrics by July. It was a very fast turnaround time, but on average, we expect around 12 to 18 months. There'll be 2 renewals of your visa during the visa process, up until when we can apply for your passport after 5 years, which we can only do if you have maintained a clean criminal record, and also you have passed an A2 language exam as well before we can submit your application. But that is the current timeline. And once we get the passport, that is to a certain extent mission complete. You then have access to live in any European country. For some nationalities, you'll also benefit as well from visa-free travel to over 190 countries worldwide, which for some nationalities like the Brits and the Americans, we kind of already have that luxury. But for those that don't have such a strong passport, that will kick in as soon as the visa and the passport comes in thereafter. But yeah, super fast overview. I don't go at quite some pace there. I'm keen to get to some questions, Cal, but okay so far. Any questions you wanted to fire in?
We got a couple of questions, but I think we'll hold those to the end. But suffice to say that Lisa also enjoyed going to Estoril at that same hotel that you went to. Thank you for your question, Brian and Mary Ann. We'll get to your questions when Jason has concluded the presentation. And yeah, if there are any others, please pop them in there and we'll get straight on them as soon as the presentation is complete.
Okay, super. I'll briefly touch on NHR. Portugal is always trying to incentivize new residents. There is a new form of NHR now, which stands for Non Habitual residents. For those that are looking to move and become tax resident here, you can apply for a tax exemption on overseas income for up to 10 years. And you can also apply for a flat rate of income tax of just 20% on any income that is derived from within Portugal. So if you are looking to actually become tax resident, again, feel free to ask about eligibility for the non-habitual program, and there may be some additional tax incentives in there for you as well. Otherwise, let's get stuck into the investment rules and A to Z's really. So when we look at investment funds, first of all, you can invest in any fund that qualifies. We are not tied to any particular fund manager. The only focus that you need to have is to ensure that the investment that you select meets the rules for the visa. And there are 4 hard rules, if you like, and also best practice when looking at those. Now, first of all, the fund must be approved and regulated in Portugal by the CMVM, which is the regulatory body here. It has to be a Portuguese fund. The fund also cannot directly or indirectly invest into real estate, which is a change that came in back in 2023. The fund has to invest the majority of its capital into Portugal as well. At least 60% of the capital has to remain in Portugal. And of course, the minimum investment, as we've covered, is 500,000 euros. Best practice is to also remain invested until you've got your passport physically in your hand. Although you don't formally need to have a investment to apply for a passport, you do need to maintain an investment to be able to renew your visa. So only up until we know we're not going to have to do any more renewals, you want to stay invested. And then once you've got the passport in your hand, of course, at that point, there's no further requirements then to stay invested. But that's it. And just to give you an example, so to meet those rules, you couldn't have a Portuguese fund that tracks the US stock market. Likewise, you couldn't have an American fund that invests into Portugal. It does have to be Portuguese and investing into Portugal in order to qualify. Of course, be mindful of exactly what you're investing into as well. So again, part of our service is to ensure that you have all relevant information before you make any investments. Now, if you was to take the visa out of the equation, it's probably a fair assumption to say that you probably wouldn't be looking at Portugal as the first country to invest 500,000 euros into. Unlike the US and the UK, the Portuguese financial system is not quite as advanced, shall we say. And you do need to be mindful of, first of all, the security of your capital. We want to understand exactly what happens if, where possible, is there any additional security for investment capital as well. Also be mindful of things like how long the money's tied up for. Is there any penalties if you want to withdraw the money early, or if you want to withdraw the capital, of course, when you get your passport. Many funds tie up the money with penalties for longer than the 6 years that you would need for the visa. Fees for Portuguese fund can be quite expensive by comparison to other parts of the world as well. So we want to have a clear understanding of any setup fees, management fees, exit fees as well. Be clear on, of course, what the returns are, what the past performance is. Just have a clear understanding of what the investment risk is. Really, I've heard of some wild and wonderful investments over the past few years. I've had clients ask me about investing into a theme park. I had another client ask about investing into a movie production as well. And as exciting as they sound, of course, these types of investments might qualify for the visa, but they also carry an inherent, very unique level of risk. For the vast majority of clients, they're looking at this as a way to get a visa with security of their capital, as opposed to trying to make lots of money along the way. So it's very rare that we have clients that, want to do anything fancy with their investment selection. But yeah, whatever you choose to invest into, just make sure it qualifies, make sure you have a clear understanding, and of course, share with us what you have seen. When we're talking about the visa application, we can liaise with the investment provider, we can request all the necessary information and give you a very clear understanding of exactly what the risk is, what the fees are, and any other relevant information that you should be aware of. Otherwise, there's no restrictions on which sectors to invest into. These are some of the more prominent sectors of Portugal. I often talk about tourism and hospitality. Portugal registered the highest ever footfall for holidaymakers last year, hitting 30 million for the first time in its history. So naturally, tourism and hospitality are some pretty hot sectors. However, there is no restrictions to qualify for the visa. There's a very quick snapshot on what funds look like to qualify for the visa. These are some of the more well-known fund managers, if you will. There are, as of today's date, around 30 to 35 funds with all fund managers in the country that will qualify for a visa. Some low risk, some exceptionally high risk. They vary in fees, vary in performance, vary in all aspects, really. But of course, during personalized discussions, we can review the funds that are out there. We can review the fund directory, and we'll share with you popular funds, and yeah, we'll try and help you find a fund if you don't already have one in mind. But otherwise, yeah, a couple of examples. Traditional equity funds. These are two examples of the most commonly requested funds from clients, both with the two largest fund managers in Portugal, both different by way of which sectors that they invest into. The first, has been around for over 30 years. They manage over 4 billion euros in Portugal, and have a strong history dating back many years to be able to assess what previous performance has been like. Again, the second, as a comparison to the likes of technology and healthcare, investing into agriculture, hospitality, and yeah, the traditional funds will be performance based. Ultimately, the level of risk that you choose to take on will impact the potential reward and the potential profits from the investment funds, and very much will be dependent over how those industries perform over the visa period. If you don't like the idea of tracking the Portuguese stock markets over the next 5 or 6 years, I would say, comfortably the majority of investors prefer not to have that kind of involvement, and where possible, opt to have a fixed return. Naturally, the returns from something that's fixed can be lower, but at the same time, you don't have to worry about the value of the investment going down during that period. As an example of a fixed return that's available at the moment, that's the one that I alluded to earlier, that has 6 years return paid up front, which comes to 101,000 euros. It can be used towards the 500,000 to qualify for the visa, whereas the investor only then needs to find 399. It has a fixed exit when you have your passport at 500,000 euros. And in its simplest form, You have 399 that goes in and 500 that comes back out from year 6. There are, as I mentioned before, some loan facilities available, which allows investors to qualify with 325,000 as a minimum. The main difference with that is that the return is 375,000 at the end of those 6 years. So you have less capital going in and less that comes out, but still a fixed profit of 50,000 over that time. Otherwise, yeah, it is an example of an investment that has additional security for the investor as well. There is tangible assets held as collateral in case of any unforeseen scenarios. And a nice to have is the fund manager also offers a complimentary stay in Portugal each year as well, which probably isn't something that would influence an investment decision. However, it is a nice to have, and it just so happens to be 5 minutes from where I live as well. I'm sure you probably wouldn't use those 4 weeks to come and spend time with me, but it is a very nice part of the Portugal nonetheless. So yeah, loads to choose from. Obviously, we'll go through these. We'll look at availability with different fund managers when we're at the time of applying for the visa. Before you make any investments, stands to reason, always speak to an expert. Of course, you have a very handsome picture of me looking a little bit less tired than I do right now, but of course, always seek to speak to an expert before jumping in. Otherwise, I thought I'd just jump on the screen a little offer for your members, Astrid and Carl. And if you would like to take advantage of some complimentary Portuguese lessons, which I should do myself.
Yeah, come
But
on.
I think I keep saying I need to do this, but yeah, you can actually get a 12-week language course complimentary of Holborn. And if you want to just make a note of the reference code on the screen, RAF EXP25, and as long as you put that in the text when you book an appointment, the QR code will give you some calendar availability. And if you put that code in, or drop it in an email, we'll make sure that you can book in some Portuguese lessons as well to really get you prepared for when you finally get over to Portugal. But yeah, without talking too much, I'm going to take a break at that. I've lost my voice now, so hopefully that was helpful. And yeah, of course, feel free to fire any questions that you have.
Great. That's really good. Thank you very much, Jason. Have a sip of water if you need to. As you say, it's the hottest day so far, right, in your
It
part of
is.
Portugal there. So thank you very
And the
much
air
for that.
conditioning doesn't really help, to be honest, because it kind of dries the room, doesn't it, at the same time as keeping it cool.
I did think for a moment it was a theatrical effect to sing the praises of the wonderful temperature in the Algarve, but you actually did put the air conditioning on, and no, it's going back off again.
Let's go back up.
Now you've reached the required temperature. Excellent. Okay, fantastic. Thank you very much. Yes, Lisa, thank you for your comment about the Palacio Estoril. Let's get into the business questions here now. The first of which is Marianne, can I do freelance work while I'm in Portugal? It's not a problem, is it, Jason?
You can do any type of work you like, Carl. No problem at all. Once you have the visa, yeah, you can work or retire or just sunbathe, however you wish.
Yeah. And you also mentioned tax residency, didn't you, as well, which would have some sort of impact if you're working here. But yes, I'll refer you to Jason's answer there, Marianne. Anything else? Just let us know in the Q&A or in the webinar chat itself. Franklin, for option 1 out of the 5 ways to obtain a golden visa, if I invest in a business that creates 10 new jobs, is there still a minimum investment requirement?
There isn't, no. It is actually based upon just the creation of the jobs. So there is a minimum salary that has to be paid, and there's a minimum time of which the jobs have to be in place for. The end result will end up being more than 500,000. However, of course, the idea is that if it's a business and it's making money, it could be money well spent. But yes, there'll still be a minimum outlay, but more by way of salaries rather than an initial capital investment.
And I think it's fair to say, is it not, Jason, that starting up a company in Portugal, notwithstanding it would have 10 employees, is not for the faint-hearted.
No, it's definitely not something that you would do just to get a visa.
Yeah.
But if you have an existing business and thinking of maybe expanding into Portugal or maybe having an extra office in Portugal, that could be easier for some than, investing a big chunk of cash
Yeah.
into a fund, for example.
Yep, quite the learning curve as well. Thank you for that question, Franklin. And the same as we responded there to Marianne. If you've got anything else that you need to know, do pop it into the Q&A or the chat here. Thank you, Brian, for your questions. So I can obtain visa, get citizenship and a passport without ever becoming a tax resident.
That is correct. Yeah, that is very true. That is the very unique part of the Golden Visa. You only have to be here for 2 weeks every 2 years. And to become tax resident, you have to be here for 6 months of the year. So as long as you spend less than 6 months, you will go all the way through to citizenship without ever becoming tax resident. And just to clarify as well, something that often that comes up, by having a visa or by having a passport, that doesn't make you tax resident. And unlike, for example, in the States, the States taxes its citizens rather than
Yeah.
its residents, whereas Portugal and all of Europe, for that matter, only taxes its residents. So if you don't live here, even if you have a passport and even if you have a visa, you are not a tax resident.
There you go, Brian. I think that will come as good news to many there, realizing that. You also ask, how many of your clients, Jason, have not gotten their principal and interest back after the 5 years?
Zero so far,
Brass,
Cal. Zero.
brass tax question there from Brian. Okay, as in not gotten their principal and interest back after 5 years. Zero there, Brian, for your question. Sylvia, do all family members on visa applications have to stay in Portugal for 2 weeks every 2 years, or is it permissible for just one family member to do so? That's an interesting question. Thank you for that, Sylvia.
Yes, everyone will have to have a family holiday. The whole family, a big family holiday. So yeah, everyone will need to be in for 2 weeks. Everyone follows this exactly the same path. So you need to, yeah, to spend the 2 weeks, and also would need to learn Portuguese if you were, of course, to apply for the passport after 5 years as well.
Yep. So don't forget that kind offer as well that Jason shared with you at the end of the presentation there to get you kick-started with learning Portuguese. There you go, Sylvia. That's the first part of your question. Second part is, what happens if I die before the 5-year mark or before becoming a citizen of Portugal? What happens to the investment? A very important question.
Well, the investment will just be like any other investment. It will pass to your next of kin as per the rules of intestacy or as per your will and testament, really. Just like a property, just like any investment, it's not linked to the visa. So regardless of what happens with the visa, it's still a standalone investment, just like any other, and it will just form part of your estate to be distributed as you need to.
And from the visa point of view, perhaps connected to that sort of tactical move you mentioned earlier on, if you make a younger member of the family the principal applicant, that might address that concern of somebody of an older age.
Yes, so yeah, we can change who is the main applicant, and we can aim to get as many family members on the application as possible. Parents over the age of 65 can be added, children up to the age of 21, or older if we have some form of proof of dependency, like an enrolment certificate into further education, for
Excellent.
example.
Thanks, Jason. Thank you for your questions there, Sylvia. Ian is asking, can you explain how one enters and leaves Portugal before visa and residence card are issued? What is the legal permission and what do you show? I think that's referring to your AIMA slide there, isn't it? And that recent slide there.
Yeah, let's come back to this one. So, in short, you have where have we gone? We have a default 3 month stay in Portugal without any visa.
Yeah, that's the one.
And if you have submitted an application, we can request an extension to that 3 months. And in short, it's very long-winded, the requirements, but in short, we just need to prove that you have submitted an application. And yeah, the government cannot be seen to be delaying your entry to Portugal based on their delays. So if we are
Yes.
waiting for a biometrics appointment, they will grant the extension. And yeah, we actually have that in writing from AIMA just a couple of months back.
Yep. Okay, thank you for that. Thanks for the question, Ian. I think that's everything for Q&A and the chat. It's your final opportunity really to put something to Jason here. Yeah, and we're going back to the slide, presumably with our QR code, so people can get in touch with you there, Jason, and find you, of course, in the Expats Portugal business directory too, with Holborn. Anything else that's come to mind for you, Jason, in closing tonight?
No, not in particular, Carl. I'm just exhausted today. I'm absolutely sweating. I can't believe how hot it is. Literally, what time are we on? 7 o'clock.
You
7
weren't
o'clock?
expecting
8
that,
o'clock.
were you? It's been quite a cool summer, to be fair. But finally, it would appear, finalmente, the summer is here. The verão is here in summer. And if I may add something, Jason, behind you there, it's in Italian, not Portuguese. And I found out what that inspirational quote is. It's from The Little Prince by Antoine de Saint-Exupéry. And now here is my secret, a translation, if you've ever wondered. A very simple secret. It is only with the heart that one can see rightly. What is essential is invisible to the eye. So there you go. That's a translation from the Italian there, from The Little Prince.
There you go.
Source of great inspiration. As you are tonight, Jason, with the Golden Visa, thank you for your update on that. Much appreciated. Now's your last chance to scan that QR code and book in an appointment with Jason. We'll be back in under an hour with the Town Hall and the Dream Team session tonight, which I'm sure will be busy with all of that foreigners law stuff and questions around citizenship. So we'll give you the latest information we have with our Dream Team lineup a little bit later on. Well, at 9 o'clock, in fact. So we look forward to seeing you then. And we'll say thank you very much to Jason once again. Thanks coming in from Lissa as well tonight. A few thanks very much for this, she says. Thanks, Jason. Regards to all the Holborn employees. Thank you very much.
Very much. Thanks, Cal. Thanks, Astrid. I'll see you soon.
For now.
All the best. Bye.